It's good to be able to be here this morning. Good to see all of our everybody here, and even our little ones. This morning, in connection with it being Mother's Day and looking at the idea thereof, I thought about a person. Okay, she's a mother in the Bible. I had to correct my sermon title because the title was going to be A Mother with No Name. But I found out she does have a name. It was just someplace else. It wasn't in the main storyline. It is recorded in the Bible, and we'll see that in a little bit, but it kind of reminded me of what happens today. Right now, my wife's name is Becky. Here soon, it's going to be, oh, you're Evelyn Claire's mom. You know, Tiffany has probably lost her name already by now because of Tasia. Oh, you're Tasia's mom. And now she got a little one there. Oh, you got the little one. We lose our names when we have children. But in Exodus chapter 2, when we look, and in Hebrews 11:23, we'll start Hebrews 11 and verse 23 real quick. A mother of history, someone I want to think about. By faith, Moses, when he was born, was hidden 3 months by his parents because they saw he was a beautiful child and they were not afraid of the king's commands. By his parents. So many places in Hebrews 11, we see so many names until it comes to Moses. All we keep hearing about is Moses all the time, but we never hear about his parents. This is about what we get. His parents hid him. We know that Moses himself didn't hide. By faith, Moses, when he was born. When he was born, he didn't do much of nothing. He was hidden by his parents. So we will be going through Exodus chapter 2 as we go through this lesson and looking at the breakdown of how that goes and looking at his mother's actions. Now, in this, I am focused because Mother's Day on the mother's actions, but as it said in Hebrews, it is the parents. It is the mother and the father, because the mother's not going to hide a newborn for 3 months without the father knowing about it. Let's be real. But yet, it took a combined effort. But we see the mother in other ways and in areas here of why I think she should be exemplified. You know, like I said, when I got started with this, looking through Exodus 2, I never found a name. She was a mother with no name. This is where a good center column or a good reference Bible is handy, because I was able to find it. But we'll get back to that. There are women in the Bible that are not recorded by name, but yet their contributions were. And I think even though she is so briefly mentioned right here, that we still need to acknowledge her presence and acknowledge what she has done. Before Exodus chapter 2, we see the decline in the attitude towards the Israelite nation as a group and as a people. A new Pharaoh, as we're reading about in Wednesday night Bible class, a new Pharaoh appeared and became who did not know the Israelites, who did not know Joseph. They forgot their history in only a couple hundred years, and so they did not know Joseph. He did not know the history of these people, of how they helped the nation become as strong and powerful as it was and not crumble. And so instead of continuing to let them do their own thing, he feared them and he started dealing shrewdly with them, as we see in verses 8 through 14. And in 15 and 16, we see that he commands the men, any male child that is born, to be killed by the midwives who are there helping them deliver. Midwives feared God more than they feared Pharaoh, which says something, because of the power of Pharaoh. You don't disrespect or not follow his commands. You say yes, sir, and do it. whether you like it or not. We see throughout history when people disobey Pharaoh how harsh the consequences can be. But these women said, these ladies over here are strong. They've already got them popped out and going on before we even get there. Everything's done. Which, in a way, is an insult to the Egyptians, because it's like, us Egyptians, y'all are weak. These Israelite women, they tough. They've already got business taken care of. They don't need us. They're already done before we get there, so we can't do that task. Okay, so they tell a little fib about it, but, they get the point across to Pharaoh. So then Pharaoh comes up with this brilliant idea. All right, ladies, if you have a son and upon delivery, give him a kiss on the forehead and throw him in the river. I don't think that went over very well either. But that brings us up to where we are. And so we see a child is concealed. In Exodus chapter 2, the first verses, and a man of the house of Levi went and took a wife, a daughter of Levi. So the woman conceived and bore a son. I'm pretty sure that and I know in most cases, it is easy to tell when a woman has conceived. Maybe not right away, but before the time that the child is born, there is usually an indicator that there is a mother with child. It was fine by Pharaoh's assumption to let all the women live, but not have any males live. But yet we see the parents here. The husband and wife were of the tribe of Levi. The Levi would become the priesthood. So it makes sense that even here, the reason that Levi may have been chosen is because the people of Levi were already dedicated, more so maybe than some of the others. We see these two were both of the tribe of Levi. And we find in Numbers 26:59 the names of this husband and the wife of Amram and of Jochebed. So she does have a name. We find their names, but the important part, they're of the tribe of Levi, which is interesting because Moses then would be of the tribe of Levi, who was the lawgivers, who was the priesthood. Him and Aaron would brothers who would lead the tribe, lead the nation. But we see this couple had a total of 3 children. I just kind of jumped ahead. Aaron, who was a couple years older than Moses. So he probably came out. We don't know for sure because I don't see the indicators here that tell us when each of these events. But quite likely, we don't see that Aaron was hidden. I'm going to assume or presume that Aaron was probably born before the king's decree. Miriam would have been born before the decree because she was old enough, as we see in the story coming up, to watch things and be a servant to Pharaoh's daughter. And then there was Moses. Through faith, as we saw in Hebrews 11, and as we see here, they hid a child. Children are notorious for trying to play hide and seek. The newborn, not as much. We can kind of peekaboo with them or something and do something fun. But yet, through faith, they hid Moses for 3 months. The rest of verse number 2, after she conceived and bore a son, and when she saw that he was a beautiful child, she hid him 3 months. I almost wonder if I need to read more into this than just him being a beautiful child. Go ask any mother who just gave birth to their child and ask them, is your child beautiful or ugly? Figure out real quick what the answer is universally. I don't know of any mother that looks at their newborn child and says, ugh. Okay, maybe you tell them that they need a bath here soon because, they were just born, but what child is ugly? They're a beautiful child. Does this mother know how important her son is going to be? Maybe she has that inkling, that feeling, that mother's intuition that there's more to this child. We don't have any record of that, so this is all just assumption. But in both Exodus and in Hebrews, it calls him a beautiful child. And then we see when hiding the infant was no longer possible, the mother used her talents and faith in God to do what was necessary for the child's survival. It's going to be pretty obvious here soon that a male child that should have been killed is walking around alive. She realizes she is a smart mother. She has intelligence. She has resourcefulness. Because as we look at these characters, we see that when it says this, she can no longer hide him. She took an ark of bulrushes for him, dabbed it with asphalt and pitch, and put the child in it and laid it in the reeds by the riverbank. The mother was very crafty, had the ability to build things, the ability to get resources in a time when the Egyptians are putting so much pressure on the Israelites. Yet she was able to do all these things. She was able to keep him hidden. She was able to keep him loved and nourished and everything, let him flourish. And so we see all of this grow. We see what the mother does. She places and protects the child. Puts him in such a spot where I think she knows what's going on. Because as we continue to read, then the daughter of Pharaoh came down to bathe at the river, and her maidens walked along the riverside. And when she saw the ark among the reeds, she sent her maid to get it. When she opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the baby wept. So she had compassion on him and said, "This is one of the Hebrew children." The mother placed the baby in a waterproof container in the water, in the reeds, where he would be found. I would venture a presumption that she knew exactly where she was placing it. Think forward several years later when we read about Moses going to Pharaoh by the water where he went. There are plenty of places along the river to go, but where did he meet with them? Where he knew he would be. I think a trait that he must have picked up from his mother. I know where you're going to be, and I'll meet you there. She placed the baby in such a spot where a prominent person would find him. Not only did Pharaoh's daughter find him, but she had compassion on him. It's hard not to look at a baby and say, "Oh," especially when you open up the hood and it kind of goes, "Wee." You just got to hold him. You got to look at him. Pharaoh's daughter had compassion. The part that I wish I knew more about, that I'm curious about. I know that Moses' sister is older because in verse 4, and his sister, while his mother was laying him in the riverbank, his sister stood afar off to know what would be done to him. She was watching her mother build this ark. She watched her mother place her younger brother in the water, in the reeds. She stayed back and watched and saw Pharaoh's daughter come to that spot and pick him up. She wanted to know what would happen. So when Pharaoh's daughter had compassion and said, "This is one of the Hebrews' children," then his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and call a nurse for you from the Hebrew women, that she may nurse this child for you? I know somebody. Not just somebody. I know his mother." Pharaoh's daughter said, "Go." And she went and called the child's mother. We get to see the story unfold in these next couple verses right here. Then Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this child away and nurse him for me. I will give you wages." So the woman took the child and nursed him, and the child grew, and she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. So she called his name Moses, because I drew him out of the water. The mother of Moses was able to protect him. When she could no longer do it, she sought a means for him to be protected and put him in the path of Pharaoh's daughter. And then got to get paid for being his mother. Because Pharaoh's daughter said he needs to be nursed. Go and get someone. So she was able to teach her own son in the ways of righteousness. So much so that we see how well it stuck, even with the Pharaoh's training and the training in Pharaoh's house as the son of Pharaoh's daughter. We see that he learned both worlds, to the point that we see what had happened on Wednesday night studies when Moses saw the unfair treatment of the Israelites, when he went to Mount Horeb and was called by God, when he came back and confronted Pharaoh, when he led his people. Because of them leaving out of Egypt, because of them going to Mount Sinai, receiving the word of God and the laws that were given, for all of this continued the nation of Israel forward. Because one woman protected and loved her child. One mother did what mothers do. She didn't listen to the unjust laws of Pharaoh. She listened to the just laws of God, followed them, and was a godly mother. Her diligence kept him safe, and her diligence helped him to grow. On this particular picture, I know it's not fully accurate to the Bible depiction. It was hard enough to find a mother with 2 children in silhouette. I couldn't find one with 3, because obviously she had 3 children. So I will make that disclaimer now. When we look at Moses' mother, we don't see hardly anything in the Bible about her. This right here is it, plus 1 verse in Numbers and 1 verse in Hebrews. That's all that I'm aware of. But even with these few verses, how big of an impact did that mother's heart have? All the way to today. How many times do we stop to think about Moses' parents? When we stop and think about it, we see that by faith, Moses, when he was born, was hidden 3 months by his parents, the faithful. I'm sorry, there is one more time, but it's more about Moses and all of that in Acts chapter 7. At the time Moses was born and was well pleasing to God, and he was brought up in his father's house for 3 months. That's Moses' childhood. That's all that we see. But we see even in here in Acts chapter 7, and it was pleasing to God that Moses was born. Followers of him were following him and not bowing to an earthly king who was unrighteous. When we think of 1 Corinthians 13:13, faith, hope, and love, and the greatest of these is love, the reason I think for that is that a mother who values faith, hope, and love is one who should definitely be remembered throughout history. The love that she had, not just for her son, but also for God, as it is shown that they had faith to do this, provided them the strength to do it, the hope to do it. But it started with love. Though through the love of God, all the other things are possible and achievable. Think about Christ saying, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added." We don't look at all the extras, we look at the core. Love brings about the faith and brings about the hope. Each of her children went on to do great things. We hear great things about Moses and Aaron because Aaron came out and was his right-hand man. We see later on about his sister, about Miriam being a prophetess. All from the tribe of Levi. All serving God. I'm thinking that mother did a good job of raising her children. We don't always have every child following as she may have, but where is our love at? Where is our faith at? She was counted faithful. She showed her love. She protected her child, raised her child in the service of God. All three of her children, I should say. A mother's love is a great thing to have. It's a great thing to share. It's a great thing to see throughout history how it has been done over and over, and to see how it goes today. We can take comfort in and example by these women. We could even do one on Pharaoh's daughter, how she took compassion on this child in the reed and made her her own. Made him her own. What do we do today? Are we excited about God? Are we one who would be counted faithful? Do we show that honor and respect to our mothers and to those who help raise children? Whether you're biological or not, it doesn't matter. Are we supporting one another, loving one another, doing the things that God would have us to do, that we would be counted faithful? That's the prayer. I'm glad to be able to speak to such an audience as this about this topic. I don't have to try and worry if that's the case or not. Let's show the love of God every day in our lives. Let's show love as this woman here did, this mother of Moses. This woman who almost didn't even have her name recorded. Just got called parents. Who needs a name if you're a good parent? Oh, you're such and such parents. Yep, that's me. Wait, why are you asking? Is this a good thing, bad thing? Is he in detention or did he do something good? Sometimes we have to wonder. But in this case here, he was hid by his parents through faith in God. We get that from our parents. I think about Timothy in the New Testament, where Paul admonishes his mother and grandmother. Ladies, you have a great influence. You can definitely wrap us men around your fingers, and we don't even know what happens sometimes. Bring along a child, and now we really don't know what to do. Let's take example of these things, and let's try to be even better tomorrow than we were today and than we were yesterday. That's all we can do. We learn from mistakes. We learn from others. We continue to serve God each and every day. We continue to build our faith through love. And we appreciate you ladies for your love and patience. If there are needs of the invitation, we offer them now while together we stand and sing.